Hey guys, what's going on? It is Ash here coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. Hopefully this video finds you all doing well today. We're going to go over the top 15 Void champions in the game, but for each category. So 5 for Rare, 5 for Epic, and 5 for Legendary champions. Let's go ahead and jump into it in today's video, and I'm going to move the channel in this direction a little bit. I have plenty of list videos out there, ranking videos out there, and I love doing them. I still, it's one of my favorite types of content to make. I'm a ranker in life. I rank my favorite movies, my favorite books, my favorite musicians, everything. However, with that said, I want to start being cognizant of giving a little bit more of a value add to you guys too on these videos. So I'll be talking very, very brief, I don't know, some information on how to build these champions, artifact sets that do well with them, stats that you really want to focus in on these champions if you happen to have them, rather than just listing who they are and what their skills are, because a lot of these champions, odds are, been watching this channel for a while, you've heard of a lot of these guys and gals, right? So, speaking of Coldheart, now Coldheart, a lot of you guys already know, and again, I'm going to go over the skills still, but we're going to be quick about the skills and more heavy on the artifacts or just maybe one key takeaway on each of these champions. So talking about rare champions, Coldheart is a beast. She's a legendary champion in a rare, in disguise as a rare champion. Attacks one enemy, has the full turn mirror depletion, does a ton of damage, 4-turn cooldown, also hits pretty hard on her A1 and her A2. She's a 4-hitter on her A1, makes her really one of the best champions in the entire game, bar none, for Fire Knight. So, Coldheart can be used everywhere. Spider, some people solo Spider 20 with Coldhearts, but you can use her in any dungeon because she's Void, just like all of these champions. I'm not going to keep saying it over and over again. They're Void Affinity. There are no bad matchups. You can really use Coldheart everywhere in the game except for Clan Boss. That's not really where she shines. Ice Golem 2 against the minions, she's not going to help you as much as she will against single target bosses, such as, again, Dragon and Fire Knight. But with all that said, you can use her everywhere in the game, and she's a beast. Clan Boss, you can use her up to, Brutal Clan Boss as well, just as a damage dealer. Crit damage is what you want to focus in on your Coldhearts, guys. Crit damage. A lot of it, right? With enemies champions that do damage based on enemy max HP, definitely want to be focusing in on that. Next up, we're going to go ahead and go over to Ogren, talk about our man Bellower, right? So Bellower, we've talked about a ton on the channel before. A lot of you guys are familiar with Bellower. He's a beast. He has AoE attacks on his A1, his A2, and his A3 with the decreased attack, decreased speed, decreased block cooldown skills, decreased defense, the small version of all of these debuffs. But a champion with 3 AoEs, again, he might be an epic disguised as a rare champion, but certainly borderline better than some of the worst legendaries in the game is Bellower. Bellower is just a tremendous champion. He's really good in a stun set, or even in a taunt set if you want to build. A lot of people choose to build Bellower as kind of a nuker on their team. I like building him as more of a support. You can still give him that 100% crit damage, so he's putting out or crit rate, so he's putting out a little bit more damage because he has all those AoE attacks anyway. But I like to build him with a defense chest on him, a defense percentage chest, and then put him in stun set, put him in taunting set so he can land those provokes, make him kind of like a tank for your team or a CC-based champion. That's how I prefer to build my Bellower. Next up, we're going to go to, I should have just stayed in Dark Elves, right guys? Paintkeeper, right? And I've talked about Paintkeeper so many times on this channel. I did a guide on Paintkeeper. I'll have all of these champion guides that I did a full video on linked on all these ranking videos from now on too in the show notes below. The thing about Paintkeeper is, combat tactics is great, decreases the cooldown of all ally skills by 1 turn. This helps the fight move faster. She's a speed champion and a support champion, and it's because of this that her A2, 4-turn cooldown when booked, attacks all enemies, then heals all allies by 15% of the champion's max HP. You can make her an absolute beast, and I mentioned this a few times before with Paintkeeper here on the channel, but put her in a shield set, build her with a lot of HP, talking HP, even HP gloves if you want to. Even if she would be the rare champion that I wouldn't even worry so much about building 100% crit rate. I know some of you guys might disagree with that and go for a crit rate if you want to, but me, I just max out that HP and I put her in a shield set because she's going to be doing healing a lot, actually. It's 15% of her max HP, but again, if you can build her out to, and she scales pretty well, the 19k base HP, if you can build her out to I don't know, 80, 90k, 100k, then you're doing 15,000 per heal, you know, and those shields are based off of the wearer's, in this case, Paintkeeper's max HP. That's the value of the shield from the shield set. So you get 3 turns of a really, really solid shield if you have a lot of HP on her as well. So that's Paintkeeper. I think she's a tremendous kind of support carry type champion in the game. Next up is going to be, this is... I went back and forth with a few of the last kind of champions on the rare list here, but I went with Felhound because he is just tremendous. Felhound is one of the best campaign farmers in the game. He has an AoE on his A1. Because he has an AoE on his A1, he's great for a stun, a taunt, or even a retaliation set on this in terms of artifact set options for this champion. You definitely want to prioritize defense over attack on this champion. And on the A2, he has the continuous heal to reflect damage, which is great on a 2-turn cooldown. So you can always get that reflect damage up, which is going to be very helpful for Fire Knight. So most people use Felhound as an absolute beast. I guess he is kind of a beast, right? He's a demon beast for either Fire Knight and campaign. So really, really solid champion. We're going to go ahead and end the list here on the rares with my girl, Relictender. So on her A3, she has the Revive an Ally on a 5-turn cooldown with 30%, 30%. Not that great for a revive ability, to be fair, but for a rare champion, certainly great to have a reviver on your team. She makes a good choice to put in a Relentless set as well. Put in a Relentless set, it takes extra turns, and she'll put more heals down, more continuous heals rather, and have more of a chance to cleanse, right, on her A2, which is on a 3-turn cooldown. So she can cleanse all debuffs from the team. It's an amazing ability to have, and she also has that decreased attack debuff on her A1. With Relictender, the thing that makes her so good, aside from her A2, which is great to have that debuff stripper on the team, is really having a champion that has a revival ability on it. If you don't have access to anybody else, especially in the early and the mid game, a champion like Relictender is going to make a big difference. She's going to be supporting and healing your team, stripping away those debuffs, and we talked about this before on the channel, but if you have a reviver on your team, right, you can start taking those defense percentage chests off of your damage dealers. You know, try it with one first. Because if they die, put them in attack percentage, or put him on, you know, make him a little bit squishier, a little bit less robust in terms of your defense, and you can really bring your times down a lot and push your progress. So having a reviver on your team kind of gives you that luxury, that leeway to try out more aggressive gear on your champions, especially if you're still in the progression phase of this game in the mid game. Let's go ahead and move on to my epics. First up is going to be Madameceres. So Madameceres is the best epic in the game. Maybe it's like a 3-way, 4-way tie. She's definitely in the conversation. She is insane. She has on a 4-turn cooldown, she has a decreased attack and a decreased defense on all enemies and removes all buffs from all enemies. Midnight Ritual is one of the strongest abilities in the game, guys. It really is. It's a 3-turn debuff as well, on a 4-turn cooldown. So usually we're looking for 2-turn debuffs on a 3-turn cooldown. Doesn't matter that it's a 4-turn cooldown because it's a 3-turn debuff. Another kind of rare bonus to Madameceres. She also has a cool passive where she puts a shield on herself every turn. She has a steal buff, block debuffs. She has a steal buff ability, excuse me. And then she has block debuffs on all allies for 2 turns if a buff is stolen. And then she has True Fear debuff for 1 turn on enemies who have buffs stolen. An insane ability. She will default, if the enemies have more than 2 buffs up, she will default to the A2 rather than going to the A3 when on auto. So just keep that in mind. For that reason, she's tricky to use as a dungeon main debuffer, unless you're going to put her on manual. That's the only downside to her. She also has a fear on her A1. You guys can read the ability right here. With my Madameceres, I use her primarily in the arena. She's one of the best arena champions in the game. Certainly one of the best arena debuffers in the game. This ability, this A3, with the removal of all buffs from enemies, especially in the arena, is so key. Like, I'll start an arena battle sometimes, and the enemies, you know, they'll be shielded up, they'll have block debuffs up, they'll have, you know, if Siffy goes first, they'll have increased speed. It's a nightmare. Until Madameceres goes, boom, one ability, everything stripped away, you know? So really, really powerful. I do personally use my Madameceres in an accuracy chest piece, okay? If you're gonna be using Madameceres for the arena, I highly, highly, highly advise, or whoever you're using as a debuffer for the arena, you should actually be putting them in an accuracy chest, right? Because that's one area of the game where resist will scale. high. So you're going to want to make sure that your debuffer has a higher accuracy than their resists. And in dungeons, usually if you're about 200, a little bit higher, maybe level 20 dungeons, you're usually good on accuracy. But in arena, you can never get too high. There is no too high. So that's one thing to note on Madameceres. Next up, we're going to go with Skullcrown, guys. She's also a beast, as you know. So she has an AoE on her A1, on her A2. She has the annoying unkillable that's really tough to get rid of. Get rid of her, I should say. She has speed in the arena, so she's an amazing arena aura lead for your team. She's an amazing arena champion altogether, right? And for Skullcrown, if you're not using her in arena for whatever reason, or if you want to like put her as your main nuker in dungeons, Spider, she does really well in a stun set, right? Because she has the only AoE abilities. So great option for stun set on Skullcrown, especially again for Spider. And in addition to that, if you're using her for dungeon damage, you're using her, well, basically anywhere, arena, I actually really advise you guys try out building Skullcrown with Savage and Helm Smasher. So Savage Gear Artifact Set and Helm Smasher Mastery. Get a big ignore defense chance on every hit, and she does a ton of damage when you have that combo going. Again, tough to get Savage Gear in this game, a little bit tough to get good Savage Gear in this game, but if you can farm it on Fire Knight, you guys will be looking really good with your Skullcrown. She's really powerful in that combination. So the next champion I have for you guys is going to be Seer. Seer is an orc champion. We talked about Karma Burn quite a bit. Same thing as Skullcrown with Seer. Does a ton of damage. She does a lot more damage out of all like the tier 6 masteries in the game, out of all the artifact sets in the game. I tried them all out on my Seer before I did my review video on her. She's a dangerous champion, but before we talk to that, Savage and Helm Smasher, really good on the Seer, okay? I would advise you go Helm Smasher Mastery with Savage Gear set on her as well. If not, just build her with obviously a lot of crit damage, right? Same thing with Skullcrown, 100% crit rate and a lot of crit damage. Karma Burn is a very dangerous ability, right? It is one of the most dangerous for your enemies and also for you abilities in the game, where it strips off every buff from all allies and all enemies. It's like a total nuke of everybody, no damage, but debuffs gone. And based on the number of buffs, that she strips away, that's how much damage she does. She's hitting for 300, 400,000 damage on an AoE attack. It's an ultimate wave killer. However, it can kill your team too, right? If you get to the Ice Golem and you're stripping away all of your buffs all the time, it's really hard to keep your team alive. So just note that about Seer, okay? And by the way, she will only use this ability, Karma Burn, if there is a certain number of buffs actually up on your team or on the opponent's team. So that's why she has the Clan Banner, essentially adding an increased crit rate buff to your team. It's really there so you can add an extra 4 buffs so she can strip them away and do extra damage, okay? So that is Seer. Love this champion. Next up, we're going to go ahead and go over to Lua. Lua has a triple hitter on her A2. You could put her in a stun set, but she needs a lot of accuracy as well. I actually like building out because she has single hitters on her A1, a single hitter on her A3 as well. Lua is good in lifesteal gear, right? Because on this triple hitter, she's attacking all enemies 3 times, right? So it could be hitting 5 enemies 3 times each, and each critical hit heals this champion by 2.5% HP. So that's a huge heal. If you put her in lifesteal plus the hail of arrows, you can actually build her pretty squishy. Like you can build her with an attack percentage chest, just build her out with a lot of attack, a lot of crit rate, a lot of crit damage, and don't even have to worry so much about HP and defense. Depending on the team around you, obviously, if you just put her by herself, she's not going to be able to sustain. But if you put her in lifesteal gear and the hail of arrows, you can actually get away with airing way on the more aggressive side and gearing this champion out, and just she can heal herself up, right? Because this plus lifesteal, she's going to be healed a lot on pretty much every attack. On this A3, she ignores shield and block damage buffs. Really nice to kind of put Lucky Shot ability in there with Lua in the arena against, if you go up against the team with Sir Nyx, with Skullcrowns, So Lua is a really solid champion. I chose her. She was like my 5th that I chose. I had my other 4 kind of selected, ending with, on epics, that is. Ending with Maneater. Guys, I love Maneater. I think he's great for the speed tune teams, these unkillable teams in Clan Boss, but more so than that, I think he's underrated as a support champion. He's certainly an absolute beast in the arena as well. in the arena, he was really kind of in the arena defensive zeitgeist for a while, just having the unkillable buff and building him super fast with the block debuffs on all allies for 2 turns, an incredibly powerful ability in Ancient Blood on a 5-turn, and then the Siphon's really good for dungeons as well, especially for Fire Knight. Fully depletes target's turn meter, and then fills his turn meter equal to the amount the target loses on a 3-turn cooldown. Siphon is an amazing ability, often overshadowed by the Ancient Blood ability, and then on his A1, he has a decreased attack on all enemies if one attack on an enemy is critical. The strong version of decreased attack. Really, really solid champion. Like, he is, I think, properly rated in a degree, but also I think he's underrated. He just has a really, really solid kit and really good base stats too. His defense is solid at 11-12, and his HP is solid over 20k with a 98 speed, very respectable. Maneater definitely makes the list. Now we get to the legendaries, guys, starting out with, of course, Siffy the Lost Bride. I am a proud, and very lucky owner of Siffy the Lost Bride. She fills the turn meter of all allies. She's a block debuff. She increased defense, increased speed. You almost lose track of all the buffs she has on this one ability. Okay, there's only 3, but she has a turn meter too, right? On the A2, the block debuffs, really, really great. Strong ability to have on a 2-turn as well. Obviously, increased defense and increased speed, same thing with the turn meter on one ability, on a 3-turn cooldown. Okay, Siffy. She also has a revival. Why not add a revival to her kit? Why not add a sleep and a heal to the kit? She's insane. She has resist in all battles by 80 as well. I actually run her as lead on my resist team for the tag team arena. So Siffy the Lost Bride, it's all about speed, right? Because you build her with enough speed, she goes first, and then she puts the block debuffs and the increased speed. You're almost building Siffy. You know, obviously a lot of defense is great for her too, like a defense percentage chest is great, no need for accuracy really on this champion. She does have that sleep as we talked about on the A1, but you know, sleep is kind of meh. I wouldn't go out of my way to build her with a bunch of accuracy just for that. However, I built her with resist too. You know, why not use her as a resist champion? She has an incredibly high, by the way, base speed of 114. Just insane, man. It's just like the developers making Siffy were just like, you know what? Let's give her 21k HP. Yeah, let's give her 114 speed. Seems reasonable. She's already an insane champion. But yeah, it's all about speed on this champion. You want to build your Siffy to be incredibly fast. That way you're boosting turn meter, almost like you're building her like an Arbiter, you know? Because she has the increased speed, she has the turn meter as well. And the block debuffs, which you want to get on your champions before the enemies have time to attack you or cast their debuffs. So that is Siffy. Let's go up here, guys, into the Sacred Order and take a look at Venus. Don't have Venus. She's a champion who's a double threat. She's really like a triple threat. She's insane. I wish I had her. Poison on the A1, on the A2, decreased defense and weaken on the same ability. On the A3, HP burn, right? So she has it all in this kit, and she hits hard. So she can be like a nuker and a debuffer. They say she's a support champion, but in reality, she's a support in the sense that she can carry your entire team to really quick and decisive victories, right? She's insane. She does it all. Venus is a champion that you can definitely put in, accuracy, I should say, is huge with this champion, but also having that crit damage and that crit rate there as well is important with Venus because you want to take advantage of her hard-hitting abilities on top of the fact that she has all of those debuffs. But first and foremost, you want to be focusing on, you know, speed. Again, base speed very high at 112. A lot of speed in this champion, so you can get those debuffs down before your nukers go. And other than that, guys, just a lot of accuracy. Make sure you're landing all of these great debuffs that she has in her kit. That is Venus. Really wish I had her. Really wish I had this next guy too, guys. It is Warlord. Not Anger, Warlord. So Warlord was, and by the way, Anger, really good champion. I think he's a solid champion, but Warlord's better. So Warlord is, it was tricky. He was like the 5th guy that I wrote down on my list, and it was between him and 3 or 4 other champions, all vying for this spot, but I went with Warlord. He's another just insane champion. He's a champion that you can actually put in a shield set. He has this ability, plays a shield buff equal to 30% of this champion's max HP on all allies for 2 turns, restores allies' HP by 25%, and then plays a block debuffs on all allies for 1 turn. Insane ability, Protection of the Gods. Beautiful name for it because it really does feel like that, right? It's one of the best defensive abilities in the entire game, bar none. on a 3-turn cooldown, and shields do stack. So you want to build him with a ton of HP percentage chest, HP everywhere else you can find it, right? And then put a shield set on him. And the shield set will stack with the Protection of the Gods ability, meaning that they're not going to cancel each other out. There'll be 2 separate, incredibly powerful shields on all of your champions. And he's a beast inside the arena too. Attacks all enemies, has a 100% chance when booked to put each target skills on cooldown, has a 30% chance to fully deplete their turn meter. And again, that can be booked up to a 60% chance on turn meter. Very, very good ability in Orcish Rituals. Man, he's just an incredible champion, huh? He really is, right? Next is going to be Krisk the Ageless, another champion I don't have. He has an AoE on his A1, which means you can put him in a Retribution set if you want to. It's great to have that AoE, on the A1 with a decreased speed. His damage is based on defense, what we're looking for in all of our champions here. He has the Ally Protect and the Continuous Heal on another AoE on his A2. A champion which has 2 AoEs, especially on the A1, immediately you can think about putting them in a stun set as well, especially if you're using your Krisk for dungeons, right? Good CC champion. And the fact that he has the decreased speed on the A1, he has on the A3 a Provoke. So if you have him in a taunt set on a 3-turn cooldown, he's going to be landing Provokes for 1 turn from his Invincible Shell ability. He has the increased defense. He has the increased speed on all allies. He'll be landing Provokes. You're going to be building him with a ton of defense because his damage on the AoEs is based on defense. This is a champion who just has beautiful synergy in their kit. Just very, very nice synergy. At the start of each round, place a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns, equal to 50% of this champion's max HP. Has a 75% chance of placing a decreased defense debuff and a decreased attack debuff on the attacker for 1 turn when hit. Again, cool idea to put him in taunting set because you're going to be landing those decreased defenses and decreased attacks when he's hit all the time, on top of him landing the Provoke. He's amazing everywhere in the game. Man, I wish I had him. One note though is because it is based on, the shield is based on his max HP, everything else is based on his defense. It wouldn't hurt. I'd still put him in a defense percentage chest, but I'd be looking for HP percentage on all my substats, right? And obviously an accuracy banner is going to be important if you plan on landing the Provoke and the decreased attack and defense, which you should, right? So that is Krisk the Ageless. The last champion on my list for you guys today is none other than the woman herself, Arbiter. Arbiter's still an oldie but a goodie. Just can't get better than Arbiter in terms of arena meta, speed, platinum tier, anywhere in the arena. She's an incredible champion. I only use her in the arena at this point in the game, but I think most people who have her, she is the campaign, not campaign, but the missions reward champion as well in the game. I think most people who have her probably use her almost everywhere, right? Ally speed in the arena by 30%, great aura for the arena, right? Revives all dead allies, and then grants an extra turn if a champion was successfully revived, and then it has the turn meter. So you can actually use this ability, Destiny's Call, in the arena, and you're on manual anyway. You can use it as an additional turn meter filler by 20%, and you just won't get the extra turn. Even better, if you have a dead champion, you get the extra turn afterwards. You can move into her Mentor of Heroes or into her Enforced Humility ability. So it fills the turn meters of all allies by 30%, places the increased attack buff on all allies for 2 turns, and then heals all allies by 25% of their max HP if they have less than 50% HP. What a great ability to start out with in the arena, and what a great support ability to have just throughout any dungeon that you need a little heal or a little turn meter boost on your allies. Attacks all enemies 1 time, 75% chance of decreasing the duration of all enemy buffs by 1 turn, can be booked up to 100%. And Enforced Humility it's very, 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 very low multipliers on this attack. She is not a damage dealing champion. I don't think I have to tell you guys that, but just throwing it out there, she's a support champion, and she has the Weaken on her A1, which is really nice to have as well. So guys, that is it. Obviously, Arbiter, by the way, speed, and more speed on this champion when you're building her. That's the number one thing that you want to be looking for. All of your best speed gear. If you're using Arbiter in the arena, she is a very rare exception where you can even put her in flat stat gauntlets, flat stat anywhere. Doesn't matter, because really you're just looking for the fastest speed rolls you can possibly get on this champion. Speed boots on all these champions on today's list. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed like kind of going a little bit more in depth on all these champions. Let me know if you didn't like it, if you just rather stick to the skills and keep it moving. Let me know in the comments below, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, take care, guys.